Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. It's hard to talk to an empty chair. I know, right? So, oh, thank you. No, it's so, and tomorrow will be different. It'll be very curly, so who knows? So Anna, let me know when we're starting. You said, of course, absolutely.
I didn't have anything that was more readable.
You're fine. You're absolutely fine. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. We're very, very pleased that you're here. This program is near and dear to my heart because I've been working this grant program for over 20 years, 17 of them here. And so getting people involved and understanding this program more to benefit our arts and culture community in Louisiana and especially Acadiana is wonderful for me. Thank you so much. I'm going to sit down only because it's a little easier for me to see this screen. And I'm going to talk to you about what's going to be projected overhead, and we'll have a good conversation afterwards. I'm Gwen Richard, Community Development Director for the Acadiana Center for the Arts. And with me is my colleague Anna Kajevnikov on everything. She's on the mic, she's on video, she's our wonderful support. The two of us together work this program, so if you have any questions or needs, you can definitely get in touch with either one of us. So let's get this party started. Oh, it's out the way. So Louisiana Project Grant is a product of the Louisiana Office of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism. It is a statewide program that is funded by the Louisiana Division of the Arts. And in this case, Acadiana Center for the Arts is the administrator for Region 4. These are the parishes in Region 4. If you're in one of these parishes, you're already in a good place. Acadiana has Acadia, Evangeline, Iberia, Lafayette, St. Landry, St. Martin, St. Mary, and Vermilion Parish. DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, is very important to the Acadiana Center for the Arts, as well as Louisiana Division of the Arts. We want to make sure that everyone has equal opportunity to this program. But who can really apply now? Let's see. Nonprofits or 501c3 organizations. That's social service nonprofits, arts and culture nonprofits, local, parish, and state government agencies, public schools, school boards, colleges, universities, and sub-applicants using a fiscal agent. That means if you do not have the credentials just listed, then you can still apply, but you would have to partner with a nonprofit 501c3 that is in your area of Region 4. At one time, it was you have to be in the same exact parish or location, but you have to be in the same region. A fiscal agent, here he goes. A fiscal agent is a 501c3 organization that assumes the responsibility for the legal and fiscal management of funds granted by the sub-applicant. Fiscal agents must be domiciled in the same region as the sub-applicant, and the project must take place in that same region. Trying to keep the money local as much as possible because it is a statewide grant. So there are 9 arts and culture organizations, regional agencies like ours that administer this grant. So everybody in the state is covered. Also, if you're working with a chapter organization, that's fine if the chapter organization is out of town, out of state, as long as you have a local organization, then that central organization can be connected to you. So let's get a little more specific. The funding period for this grant is October 1st, 2024. And let me tell you this, before everybody's writing, all the information that is on here is in this that I gave you, and it is online as well. So October 1st, 2024 and September 30th, 2025. That's the very end and the beginning of this grant program. Everything has to take place during that time. An organization or an applicant can request from $2,500 up to $7,500 for a project. And the good news is you can do two if you're an eligible organization applicant. Now, if you are needing a fiscal agent, then you can only do one because fiscal agents, they can actually be a fiscal agent for two applicants, but you can only, if you're an individual needing a fiscal agent, you can only do one because you're not technically eligible. That's how that works. Hopefully I didn't confuse you. Yes,
About the two,
yes.
could it be, does it have to be two entirely different programs? Or could it be the same program with like different performers?
It has to be two different activities. Yeah, so what you would, if that were me, I would rename it, change it up a little bit. If it's something that you have that's a continuing series of some sort, perhaps you can have one be all about visual arts and then another be all about music or something like that. And give them two totally different names, two totally different goals and perspectives.
Okay,
And you're still accomplishing what you need, which is a series of activities. It does not all have to be clumped together in one.
okay.
But remember, you will be competing against yourself. Think about that. So there's only one pool of money, which I didn't have a slide for that. I really should. But it's $96,242 to give out throughout all of Acadiana. And so because this is not any longer a parish by parish competition, but a regional competition, that means that everyone is in the same pool vying for the same grant dollars. So your grant dollars for one project is competing against grant dollars for another project. But the good news is there's no cash match. Yes. So for the last couple of years, there has been a cash match because we're looking for sustainable organizations. You know, during the height of COVID, everybody was really struggling. And we didn't want to put organizations, the state didn't want to put this other organizations in a precarious situation because of lack of funding. They wanted to make sure that there was some skin in the game, and that really made a difference. However, we're on a really good time right now, and that is no longer required. I'm so excited. So the deadline for this is July 1st, 2024 at 5 p.m. And the reason they cut it off at 5 p.m. is they realize that if people are waiting to the very last minute and trying to apply up until 11, 12 o'clock at night, who's going to answer their question if they get stuck or if they have a problem with the putting the information into the online application program? No, not me, not me. So how to apply? You go to submittable.com. Everything is online now, which is so much better. The state has adopted this new program for the last 3 years, I think now, Anna, about 3 years. And so prior to that, there was another online system, but it wasn't as polished as this one. I won't name the name, but this one is really very good and is very user-friendly. But of course, there's a catch to everything, like, you know, just follow instructions. Read, follow instructions. Each application must be created online. We cannot take handwritten applications of any kind. The vision for this program: to encourage the expansion of additional audiences for the arts, especially people with limited resources. You know, we want to make sure that art is accessible. The state is very interested in putting those tax dollars back into the community and making sure that everyone has access. This money is also meant to stimulate public participation in the arts, to support established arts institutions, to nurture emerging arts organizations and cultural economy, to assist individual artists. That is a biggie. Without our individual artists, we have no art, right? So we're very much encouraging, and we want you to remember to pay your artists. Pay them through this grant, pay them through your pocket if you have to, through your organization. I don't mean your personal pocket, but your organization's pocket. Try to make sure that we're not asking artists to give up their talent, which is their livelihood, for free. It's not fair. So the program goals here are, yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Nice.
budget. They'll give you guidelines for written orders, performances, solo exhibitions, and so on and so forth. It's totally unfeasible to get certified by them for small organizations, but there are some small and very large organizations who kind of use that. People say no less often.
Thank you, Ben. That is valuable information. Love it. Love to share. At the end of this, we could all share some other things too, or in between. Please feel free to stop. This is a very informal information session. So we want it to be impactful to community need. Figure out whether what your vision or what you're thinking about doing is something that will really benefit your community. The whole point is to get people out to the arts. So if it's something that you're doing for self and not really that will be impactful, think twice about it, or maybe tweak it a little bit, right? So we already talked about fostering DEIA, making sure everything's accessible. We want to make sure that we showcase artistry and creativity and innovation, and that we encourage professional artists to produce. I'm an artist myself, right? I'm a visual artist, and I go through this period where I'm just like, I'm not doing anything. But if you have a great organization, a great viable program, you will encourage artists to participate. The more you do, the better you become as an artist, in my opinion. So community involvement and collaborations are important. This grant is really put together in such a way that it encourages collaborations between parishes, between organizations, between smaller rural organizations and larger city or town organizations. And you can cross parishes. A long time ago, for many, many years, y'all, it was a parish by parish competition, and you could not even cross parish lines to indulge in anything participating in this grant other than to go and observe. So I love this component. It's been around for a little while now. We also want to leverage local and national support for the arts. This is the way to do it. The program priorities, I'm not going to read all these to you, but you can see these are every art discipline that we can think of that's very relevant to what's going on around in Acadiana and Louisiana for sure. But the accounts for the population is like super important. Making sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is super important. Making sure that you have learning and quantitative outcomes visible. That's important when you're writing your grant. Making sure that you have cross-parish partnerships, what we just talked about, and that this project has some sort of trajectory, that it will continue on or grow and have some significance far beyond this application and the period of this grant. So talk about eligibility. Let's talk about that. You have to be in good standing with the state of Louisiana. You have to have a Secretary of State stamp of approval in order to participate in this. You have to have an EUI number, a SAMS number, and you can go to this website and you can obtain that, not a problem. A while back, it was a D something number. I can't remember, DIA, yeah, DUNS number, yeah. And now we have to have this one. And without this, you cannot apply. At one time, we would give people a little leniency and say, you know, make sure you get it by the time, but we can't do that anymore. You're ineligible if you are a line item already with the state legislators. If a regional arts council like the ACA, we cannot apply. If you're non-compliant in past grants, then you cannot apply. And non-compliance mean you just dropped the ball completely. You didn't do any of the requirements. You didn't do a final report. Anything that kept us from doing our job and completing, because Anna and I are responsible for doing final reports to the state, letting them know that you've all done what you said you were going to do, right? But I can assure you that everybody in this room is fine with that. If you've been non-compliant, then you would have gotten the information from us as to why. So don't worry about that. If you're not in good standing with the state legislative auditors, and if you don't have the number, I just reiterated that because it's important. So project ineligibility. So that is in detail in these guidelines. So make sure you look at that. There's so many. I didn't want to put all of that, but I just put a few up. Activities that occur before October 1st, 2024, and after September 30th, 2024. So that means that the state will not pay you for anything outside those boundaries. It's a year-long process, but the year doesn't start with the calendar year. If you've already started I'm sorry, already started a project, can't get it out, then don't add it to this. Just leave it off. It's not going to help you. It's going to hurt you. You want things that will occur during this time. Activities that are generally not available to the public. So if you have private things going on, this is not going to work because this is public dollars. Make sure you open it up. When I was an executive at Girl Scouts, I was the outreach director there. We had lots of activities, and I would apply for this grant. Back then, it was called the Decentralized Arts Funding Grant, DAF. And how I did it, because Girl Scouts is an example of a private organization, right? You have to be a member in order to participate. So we would have an activity that was member-driven, but the girls would invite friends, family members, etc. And that was sufficient. It had to have something that was open and exposing people to the arts, getting them as participants, building more patronage for the arts. Activities that include primarily fundraisers. So I always tell people, let's think about this, for example. Okay, this thing is too close. Let's think about this. Everything that, oh, I'm so sorry. How do I go back? Sorry, I went too far. And I can't go back.
Use your arrows
I'm using my,
on your keyboard.
there we go. Thank y'all. Thank you, Anna. So everything that we do is to keep us afloat, right, as nonprofits. And really everything that involves money in my brain is raising funds for your organization. But if you have an activity, let's say you want to have a band come out, I'm just saying, a band come out on the lawn and play music for another activity that you're having, and you want money for that, that's fine. If you call it a fundraiser and you say, we're using this band to raise funds to get people in here for this activity, it's not going to work. You can have an activity, you can actually charge people for money at the door if it's a nominal fee, even though we're paying for the band. But if you're actively trying to solicit sponsors, you're trying to go outside to make sure that all these, that this activity is really deemed a fundraiser, it's not going to work. We can't allow that. So, sorry, this one was added to it. The accumulated funds or debt for retirement, can't do anything. We can't do anything with debts. We can't do anything about contingency funds, acquisitions, capital improvements, tuition, anything like that. None of those things are eligible. This again is the same thing about the EUI number and the state legislative audit. Now, if you notice, I put that in 3 different locations. I am very redundant on purpose because we can't do anything about it. There's a lot that Anna and I can do to help you once you've gotten your grant approved, but getting there, we can't do anything about this. That's a state thing. So before you begin, try thinking about all the things to prepare you. This is the best preparation that you can have for this grant, is these guidelines. Read them. They're really simple and easy. Use your highlighter, draw on it, do whatever makes you happy. Remember the goals we just talked about, the priorities. Those are important too, and that's very much at the very beginning of the guidelines. Make sure that you have some kind of community involvement, or that it does meet that community need that we talked about. Be realistic in your plans. Don't try to overwhelm us or impress us by overwhelming yourself, by taking on too much for a very short period of time, because this is just a year. If it's something that you think will actually extend beyond that year, don't include it.
And also don't try to fit too many activities in the one project as well.
That's right. That's right. Have a beginning, a middle, and an end to it, and a reasonable end. And I always say, remember hurricane. We live in Hurricane Alley. Just remember that. So if you schedule something, please do not schedule it in the month of September. That really does not work in many cases, and it's very hard for us to give any extensions, very, very hard. Assess, make sure you have realistic costs, personal needs, and time. Cost is very important. Your budget on your application must absolutely chime in with what the written words are in your narrative. For example, if you're saying, we're going to pay for this band I was talking about earlier, you're going to pay for the band and the band is going to be $2,000. Then in your budget, it should say that you're going to hire artistic performers for $2,000. You have to have a correlation there. The grant readers, the people who are reviewing your application, will be looking for inconsistencies. Plan ways to revise if you're getting partially funded. If you're going to be partially funded, which is very likely, because everyone's going to ask for that $7,500, just about. And what happens is there's a lot of people applying, right? We only have $96,242 to give out. And so sometimes you might get $5,000 instead of the $7,500. Then what are you going to do? Are you going to put in some of your own cash? Are you going to adjust your activity to fit that amount? Just kind of be ready with a contingency plan. And then talk to us. Anna and I are here to help you. We are here to go through the questions that are in your head. We're here to answer to the best of our ability. We cannot write down things. We will never type in on an email a bunch of stuff for you to do. It's just not going to happen. We don't want to be accused of writing your grant, but we will have a really good conversation with you about it once you've written something down.
Philip has a question.
Oh, I didn't see Phil. Sure.
So like I'm gonna ask for money for the orchestra,
Mhm.
you know, that's not, should I put everything for the project in that budget? And then, you know, including?
No. So that's a great question. So I'll give the example. I always use Festival International. I love using them because it's humongous. Everybody knows the scope of that. There's no way that we can give $7,500 to Festival International is going to pay for their whole festival. So if they're writing a grant, they're not going to give us all the information of everything about that just to get that $7,500. They're just going to break it out to that one band, that one stage, that one activity, and then all the other things can be put in a supplemental form to show us how wonderful festival is. So you do the same thing.
Okay, so people,
Yes, you're going to write down about the band. You're going to give us a little snippet about the activity because it's important to know what we're linking that band to. But you're really going to take that information about the band and blow that up. And then in your budget, when you have your budget, you're only giving us, there's 3 lines in the budget form. The first one says grant, the next one says applicant cash, and the next one is just a total. So you don't have to account for any money for anything else other than that band, but you can give us information about how much money you've spent in your supplementals if you'd like.
okay, like, the rights and all that stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Things that won't be covered. And I'm glad you mentioned ACA. So that's another thing. ACA cannot take grant money that we're giving you. We cannot take that money back for anything. So if you're using Acadiana Center for the Arts for anything, make sure you pay us with the separate money. I never write us into the grant unless you've talked to someone here and you say, oh, we're meeting at the ACA because we know, I mean, you know, we're big, but we're not that big. So good questions though. Panel review. So these are the categories and this is how much they weigh. Hopefully I got that right because sometimes it shifts, but I think that's still the same. If not, you'll see it on your application. But for the most part, it's about artistic merit, need and impact, plan and design, administration and budget. That's the categories. How much they weigh, we'll definitely see it when we open up the application, but I think that's right. So the panelists, when they're reading through these applications, that's how they're assessing your project with those criteria in mind. And those criteria are also found in here. Let's see real quick. If they attributed amount, yes, and I got it right, yay. So it is 35% for artistic merit. It is 35% for need and impact and 20% for design and planning, and 10% for administration and budget. Now, just because administration and budget says 10%, don't think that that means, oh, I don't have to pay as much attention to it. Oh, yes, you do, because you need all 10%. You need that 10%, and you need those panelists to understand that you understand the significance of that money, because that's state dollars, y'all, state dollars. They want to make sure that it matches what you're saying in your application, what you propose to do. The good news about this grant is you don't have to write a proposal up front, right? You just write the application. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, I've written grants for a long time before where you had to have a letter of, intent and all that, which is fine. I'm not knocking it, because some of the grants that are out there are still doing that, and that's okay. But this one, you do not have to. You just have to do this. So before you turn the application, proofread. Like, I just want to scream it. Anna's always screaming it. Proofread, proofread. I can hear her through the walls. So keep a copy of your application too. Make sure. I cannot tell you how many times people will call us and say, oh, can you send me a copy of my application? I lost it. Why? I don't know what we were supposed to do. Really? So you get the application filled out, you submit it, you get approved. Then now it's time to do your project. You get to the end to do your final report, and then you call me or Anna and say, oh, I don't remember what it was we were supposed to do with that money. Can you give us a little idea? Can I have a copy of my application? I'm going to look at you like, sideways. Don't do that. Do not do it. Well, I think,
And
yes.
I just want to interject here, with submittable, you can actually see your application after you've submitted it. Yeah.
But they still call me. Yes. Thanks, Philip. Thank you. That's a good point, Anna, and y'all, but people still call. I had one woman that called me, she said, I can't open submittable. Can't get it. I'm like, okay, let's work on that. So next is, remember, we're here to review your application in advance if you want. It's not mandatory, but if you'd like us to read it, you have to get it to us early enough to be able to do it in a timely manner. We do review them in the order that they're received, and we try to give good attention to each one. So please adhere to that deadline. Now, let's say you submit it on the 14th, and we're not going to be able to review it on the 14th. We have to review it in that order received. So you might be a few days before you hear back from us, but it's okay. And then this, Anna wrote that up of how to submit your application. Is that right?
So the other way to submit it is to let us know via email that you will be submitting it as a draft. So you would be submitting it in full for draft feedback. So that we can then, after we've reviewed it as a draft, we can reopen the application for you to make edits.
Yes.
But whilst it's submitted, you have no access to the application. So if you've submitted it and you're waiting for feedback, you won't be able to change anything. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, but if you need clarification on either of those, just contact either myself or Gwen.
Absolutely. Good point, Anna. So to receive any assistance, I think everybody in here has our contact information, but here it is again. And you could always just call downstairs and they'll find us. They will hunt us down and get you the help you need. So best of luck to you. And this is an old iPod. I cannot stop using this, but this was a play that I went to at Iberia Performing Arts, and it's just so cool. And I just love to have the open arms. Anna and I are welcoming you to participate and to join us on this journey with Louisiana Project Grant 2025. Questions? Any comments? Clarifications?
I have a question.
To what degree do the projects need to be Louisiana Center?
Good point. So there's two schools of thought on that. Let's say Zydeco music, for example, right? That's like really, that's very local. People understand it. That's really cool and it's great. And so that's easy to digest. But let's say you wanted to do some kind of new wave, something that's happening in California, and bring it here. You're still exposing the community to another art form or something that's really cool and different that's not here. You would just have to make a good, strong application as to why, which comes back to the community need. You can say something like, we did some surveys, we got 500 people that say they want to have this centric music, this really cool stuff happening, and we can't find anybody here. So we're hiring people from away. The good thing is you can hire artists or anyone from away to come and do anything. We just can't, they can't apply from away. So someone from a different parish other than Acadiana cannot apply here. Someone from a different state cannot apply here. It would have to be even a sub-applicant. The sub-applicant has to be from Acadiana. Yeah, Hannah?
So I have a question online. Somebody is asking if you have a project that was previously funded, but is an annual project, such as a festival,
Mhm.
can you apply for the project to be funded in consecutive years?
So the answer to that is yes, you can. However, it's in your benefit to make it different, better, bigger, stronger. Show that there is growth in it, show that there has been some significant changes, because every year, if you're doing it right, you're evaluating your program, you're evaluating the projects and the things that you're doing, and you're trying to tweak it some and make it better. So yes, you can apply for something else. And we try to use different panelists every year, so the same people will not be reviewing your stuff, but we really caution against paper cutting, copy and pasting the same application over and over again, because Anna and I know that it was there before, and it's not going to be as strong because it'll be watered down as you go, believe me. You want to change it up, you want to spruce it up, and yeah, go for it. You had a question in the front?
Yeah, a book of production art for a country about New Orleans, count.
So you're local here, you live here, but you want to do a book about New Orleans?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the subject matter is up to you. I think it's about building your repertoire as an artist. It's about making sure that you have support from us locally to be able to hone in on your craft. And
I think also
it
the
forward.
impact on the community and ensuring that the community is involved in that process, and just being able to, just show us that this is a community project.
Why is it relevant? Will it help people from Acadiana to understand New Orleans more? Give us reasons and why. We always say the who, what, when, where, and why. That's a good why thing. Why choose New Orleans? So when you're writing your application, make sure that you give us information about that particular choice and why it's significant for an artist from Acadiana. Okay. Anyone else? Y'all have been lovely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming, and we will be in touch, I'm sure, at some point. Bye-bye for now. You're welcome.